film begins with Linda and Mark, a happily married couple, getting ready for their anniversary dinner. They entrust Chloe, their young daughter, to Barbara, a trusted neighbor turned babysitter. While Linda and Mark are enjoying their time together at the restaurant, their daughter Chloe requests that Barbara prepare her mac and cheese. However, when Barbara is in the middle of boiling water for the pasta, we can clearly see that she is acting strangely. She looks perplexed and begins to zone out. Meanwhile, naive Chloe offers to assist her in the kitchen. Unfortunately, because Barbara appears to be lost in her own thoughts, the young girl's hand is burned by the boiling water. The medics are called, as are Linda and Mark, who rush inside as soon as they arrive to make sure their daughter is okay. Barbara apologizes profusely, and it appears that Barbara suffers from Alzheimer's, so she is no longer fit to babysit a young child, according to an EMT personnel. Linda struggles later that night to accept the idea of quitting her job to care for Chloe full-time. The couple considers hiring a new nanny for Chloe, but neither is sure who would be a good fit. Mark mentions that they are only a few weeks away from completing their second home as an investment, which will cover their living expenses if Linda does indeed retire in the future. The next morning, Mark is working on their second house, while Chloe runs around like a child, toying with what appears to be a nail gun. She could have seriously injured herself if a passerby hadn't intervened. The passerby returns Chloe to Mark, and we learn her name is Heather. Mark, seeing how Chloe seems to like this girl, quickly brings her home and introduces Heather to his wife. When Mark suggests Heather as their new nanny, Linda is hesitant because they don't know much about her background. Mark, on the other hand, convinces her that Heather is a good option because she lives nearby. Following the discussion, the married couple decides to ask Heather to be Chloe's new nanny. Heather enthusiastically accepts the position, claiming that she is looking for a way to supplement her income. Heather states that she has previously worked as a babysitter and provides the phone number of her previous employer as a reference. Later that night, Linda, who hasn't completely trusted Heather, attempts to contact her previous employer and receives positive feedback for Heather. Out of concern for their daughter's safety, they decide to purchase a nanny cam to install inside the house. Linda goes shopping for nanny cams the next day and is advised to purchase an alarm clock radio with a built-in camera. The mother is relieved that the new hidden camera has been installed inside the house and that she can watch her daughter practice violin as she always does. Following that, Chloe can be seen happily playing with Heather on the front porch. When Heather enters the house to get some water, Barbara, who lives next door, approaches her with joy because she misses her. Heather appears as the two are having a pleasant conversation. Heather becomes overly protective of Barbara and becomes completely hostile to her. Barbara, perplexed, turns around and walks home. Linda appears not long after and inquires as to what is going on. Heather immediately lies to her, claiming that Barbara was simply yelling at her about how she stole Barbara's job. Linda pities Heather and informs her that Barbara is ill. The landline rings during dinner that night, and Heather goes to answer it. The caller turns out to be Barbara, who is apologizing for the incident a few days ago in which boiling water spilled on Chloe's hand. Heather responds angrily once more, but this time she takes it a step further by impersonating Linda's voice to basically tell Barbara off. Later that night, Mrs. Barbara is awakened by strange noises in her home. An ominous shadow passes by her, unbeknownst to her. Linda, who is at work the next morning, receives a phone call informing her that Barbara has committed suicide. This breaks her heart because she has known Barbara for a long time and the last time she saw her, the old woman seemed fine. Linda and Mark then leave the house to attend Barbara's funeral, leaving Heather to care for Chloe. When they return home, they are astounded by how clean and tidy their home is. Linda then approaches Heather, who informs her that she is only doing it to kill time while Chloe sleeps. Linda clearly feels uneasy about this and tells Heather that they only hired her to watch Chloe. Linda decides to check out the latest footage from the nanny cam before going to bed that night. She discovers Heather and Chloe engaged in a 3-hour conversation rather than practicing violin or engaging in other activities. Linda becomes stressed again the next day when Chloe refuses to eat what she has prepared and claims that Heather is a better cook than Linda. Furthermore, Chloe informs Linda that she is no longer interested in playing the violin because she has discovered a new hobby, monologue speech, which she learned from Heather. Linda decides to ask Heather about their previous long conversation when Heather arrives for her routine. Heather informs her that she and Chloe were discussing death because Chloe had many questions about it following Barbara's death. Linda then advises her to continue Chloe's violin practice, and it is at this point that Heather realizes she has been being watched the entire time. She immediately looks around the house for the nanny cam. Mark returns home from work that afternoon and decides to sit down and talk with Heather. Mark reveals that he was injured at work, and the girl hands him a pain reliever. Heather then takes advantage of the situation to flirt with him and eventually attempts to kiss him. Mark, who is uncomfortable, tells Heather to go home. Heather then suggests that he check out the nanny cam and asks if he has ever watched her. Mark ignores the question and continues on his way to the second floor. Something is wrong, so she decides to install more nanny cams around the house. The following day, we learn that Linda is taking a half-day off from work to attend Chloe's school recital. Her boss initially objects, but he eventually allows her to leave work early. On her way there, she is pulled over by the police. When they exit the vehicle, they inform her that they have received a report that she has kidnapped a child. Linda, who is perplexed, tries to convince them that they are mistaken. The cops then question her and don't let her go until much later that night, meaning she misses her daughter's recital. Chloe has a tantrum because she is understandably disappointed in her mother, as is Mark. Linda tries to explain that she was pulled over by the cops, but Mark is unconvinced. The mother suspects it has something to do with Heather. Linda attempts to contact Heather's former employer, only to discover that it is Heather's own phone number, which she promptly rejects. Unbeknownst to Linda, Heather had called the police earlier that day and instructed them to go after Linda's car under the guise of kidnapping. Later that night, Linda attempts to review all of the recorded videos from the nanny cams and discovers they have been deleted. She and Mark are arguing about the deleted nanny cam files, and Mark admits that he deleted the files because monitoring someone's privacy is no longer a good idea, despite the fact that it was their idea. Heather is also watching them from a nanny cam she secretly installed inside the house. Not only that, but she is spying from her secret hideout, which is Mark and Linda's unfinished second home. Linda begins her search for Heather's identity the following day, with the assistance of the cam's seller. She calls her home phone and leaves a message that she will be home late that day. While Linda is out looking for herself, Mark arrives home and is greeted by Heather as usual. The girl sits Mark down and drugs him with a drink until he becomes drowsy before flirting with him again. Heather creepily begins rambling about a supposed relationship between her and Mark, and how she wants him to leave his wife for her, while Mark is struggling to keep his mind coherent. Meanwhile, Linda's search leads her to Heather's parents' house, where they greet her and show her pictures of their daughter in skimpy outfits that should not have been appropriate for someone Heather's age. The father compliments her on her beauty and expresses his admiration for her outfit. Linda then tells them that the girl in the picture isn't the Heather she's looking for and leaves, just as her mother warns her not to bring Heather back to her father. We don't know what happened before, except that when Linda returns home later that night, Mark is already in bed. The next morning, Linda suggests to Mark that they fire Heather because she has a bad feeling about her and strange things have been happening around them since they hired her. They let Heather go because Mark does not argue. Linda is about to give a big presentation at work later that day. However, the screen unexpectedly glitches and ends up playing a video of Heather having sex with her husband. Linda, enraged, storms back home to confront Mark, and the two have a heated argument. Linda then dashes up the stairs to find Chloe, but she is nowhere to be found. They call the cops, who later sit them down to tell them that after some investigation, they discovered that Heather's parents, whom Linda had visited the day before, are not her biological parents, but rather foster parents. Heather, it turns out, was an orphan. Linda's mind is starting to make sense after hearing this. She then decides to check out the nanny cam she put in Chloe's room, where she finds Heather talking to the camera and asking Linda to come see her at Mark's construction site. Linda rushes to the house, where she discovers her daughter Chloe and her other daughter, Heather. You read that correctly. Heather finally admits that she is Linda's daughter, whom she gave up for adoption when she was younger. Heather, who felt betrayed by being left behind, devised a complex scheme to ruin Linda's life. Linda then takes out her necklace, which she wore when her daughter was placed outside of a hospital a long time ago. Heather is lying, according to the mother, because her daughter died in a car accident 8 years ago, when she began tracking her down and retrieving the necklace. The two end up fighting, with Heather knocking Linda down. Mark arrives shortly after and tries to reason with her, but then this happens. While Mark bleeds out on the floor and little Chloe cries in terror, Linda rises and scuffles with Heather once more. Linda gains the upper hand this time, Heather falls out the window, and Linda is finally reunited with her daughter. However, Heather is no longer visible when the camera pans out the window. In the following scene, it appears that some time has passed, and we see Linda, Mark, and Chloe spending time together, looking happy. The film then cuts to an interior view of a Greyhound bus, where an elderly lady approaches a woman holding a baby. Heather, it turns out, is who she claims to be. This is where the movie ends. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know in the comments section below which movie you want us to recap next. As always, until the next time,